Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite audiobooks that I listened to in 2017. And like my previous video, these are also audiobooks that came out in 2017, so hopefully they're a little bit newer for you. You might have heard of them, but might not have gotten to them yet. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've listened to any of them, and hopefully you appreciate one or two of the recommendations. So here we go. I'm going to kick off my list with one of the books that I actually bought twice. And this man deserves all of the money in the world, including mine, and it is Tom Hanks. His book is Uncommon Type, and it is a short story collection. And I actually had this book for a book club, and I had to scramble, and so I bought it on audiobook to pick it up a little bit and bounce back and forth between actually reading it and listening to it. And I'm so glad I did, because the actual book, I came to the consensus that I was a little indifferent about it. I think it could have been a lot shorter, and it would have been great if like 3 or 4 stories were knocked out of it. But the audiobook is where it's at, because none other than Tom Hanks himself narrates it. And who doesn't love Tom Hanks's angelic voice? The stories in Some Type are more nostalgic, and you can almost picture Tom Hanks playing some sort of character or role in each of the stories that he writes, almost like a movie that could be written with him as the starring role. It's very nostalgic, and that 1950s and 60s nuclear family yearning for a better time, and a nostalgic time where families were tight-knit, but there were issues underneath the surface that you might not be aware of. And again, it was one of my particular favorites because it was on audiobook. It's Tom Hanks narrating. He's narrating short stories to you. Pop it on while you're falling asleep. You have Tom Hanks reading you a bedtime story. What could get better than that? Moving on to the next audiobook, my number 4 pick is Perennial Seller by Ryan Holiday. The name Ryan Holiday might sound familiar to you if you've heard of Ego is the Enemy or The Obstacle is the Way. Ryan Holiday is a marketer turned, I wouldn't say stoic philosopher, but The Obstacle is the Way and Ego is the Enemy is all about performance and your life with all of the teachings of stoicism kind of built in. In Perennial Seller, Ryan talks about stoicism a lot because that is sort of his philosophy on life, but he talks more about building work that lasts a very long time, like things that stand out, what makes a, quick flash in the pan versus a book, a movie, a piece of art, whatever it might be, what makes that so special and last for generations when a lot of things just fizzle out. And as a marketer or advertiser myself in my actual profession, I love Ryan Holiday's work in general, and this book is no different. It's really inspiring to me as a somewhat creator. And as a marketer, building things that last in the long term is something that's really important to a lot of people, and they want to leave that legacy. They want to be remembered. And so the book was very inspiring to me in those ways, and I appreciated Ryan really focusing on things that matter in life and things that can last. So definitely recommend Perennial Seller, anybody in the business, advertising, marketing, umbrella of professionalism. And before this next one, because this next one is going to be a political book, I wanted to mention something that kind of sucks, but one of my favorite audiobooks this year when I initially listened to it was Giant of the Senate by Al Franken. And as you are probably well aware, Al Franken had some pretty shitty things come out about him, and it's really unfortunate, and it really sucks to see somebody that I looked up to and really enjoyed hearing from seemingly be involved in that kind of behavior. It's a bummer, and it really sucks. So I really enjoyed that audiobook, and it's hard for me to recommend it now. I'll swing it to another political book that I really enjoyed listening to this year. It's Hillary Clinton's book called What Happened. It was just really nice to see Hillary Clinton very earnest and open and pretty candid in her memoir that basically accounts for everything that happened before, during, and after the 2016 election. No matter your political affiliations or opinions on her or what happened, this book was really interesting because we're basically living a certain history right now, and to hear it from somebody who was right in the thick of things and has played this enormous role in where we are at right now. And to hear it all read out loud, going back to the audiobook point, by Hillary Clinton herself was even more personal and a great experience. So check out What Happened if you are interested in being happy or sad or hopeful or a mix of different emotions all at the same time. This next book, I'm unfortunately going to have to keep it political. I listened to a lot of political audiobooks this year, but this one's a lot more lighthearted, I promise. Who Thought This Was a Good Idea by Alyssa Mastromonaco. This audiobook is all about Alyssa Mastromonaco's experience working for the Obama administration. She tells these crazy stories about scenarios and situations that she ends up in, and it's almost like you're shooting the breeze with one of your close friends after work, but this close friend happens to work for the most powerful man in the world. So she has an extremely unique perspective, and she's actually very funny. And to see the curtains peeled back on a political administration is pretty interesting, and she makes it sound very interesting because sometimes that stuff can get pretty boring. But she manages to make it fun and funny, and I really can't recommend this audiobook enough. And the number one audiobook that I read or listened to, sorry, I keep saying that, the number one audiobook that I listened to in 2017, I would have to say, is American Kingpin. And I always get this, The Epic Hunt for the Criminal Mastermind Behind the Silk Road by Nick Bilton. Now, this story is absolutely insane, and it's even more so because it's 100% true. Now, this book is about a 20-something libertarian dude, basically your typical suburban white guy who, through one way or another, he built the Silk Road, which is essentially the Amazon.com of anything and everything you could imagine, not necessarily legal. So there's drugs, weapons. This guy built the platform to enable that online. And with this empire that this dude built that's worth a couple $1 billion at one point, the federal government gets wind of it, obviously, when it balloons into this massive thing. And it's all about tracking down this guy. It's like this true crime thriller that if it's not made within 5 years at like a Steven Spielberg movie or something like that, I don't know what they're doing, because this literally listened or read like a movie. It was insane. So American Kingpin, probably my favorite audiobook of the year. I really, really enjoyed it, and it was like a fast-paced thriller. It was like listening to, again, a movie. And that about does it for my favorite audiobooks that I listened to in 2017. In 2018, I'm going to be listening to a lot more audiobooks, so I would love your recommendations if you have any good ones to share. Also, if you've listened to any of the books that I've mentioned, I would love to hear if I am way off or if you really enjoyed them as much as I did. Let me know your thoughts. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and for the time being, I appreciate you listening and watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.